very important topic on marriage. And I thank you guys for listening every Saturday on Marriage in a Minute on Mega Radio. And we're glad for this opportunity. So we just thank God for it. And we just ask you guys to be supportive, continue to listen in, continue to invite other couples because, we always come with a word that we are wanting to encourage every married couple. Even people who are not married who are listening in all over the world, we thank you guys for listening in and we hope that you're encouraged. Today's topic is going to be on an out of order marriage. And that sounds kind of funny when you hear that word, that phrase, an out of order marriage. But I remember when I was a little kid growing up, and I'm sure many of you know this Sega Genesis, the old version. That was like one of my favorite games, and I could not put it down. I was just always on this game. And I remember my parents used to say to me, you need to get off the game and get your homework done, or you need to get off the game and do house chores, or you need to, not stay on the game so much. You spend so much time on this game, and I could not get rid of it because I loved it. I cherished it so much. And one of the things I used to do is I remember, my grandmother or my grandfather used to say to me, get off the game. And I would frown. I would say something back. I was young and I was kind of like stupid, so to speak, being a kid. And they would say to me, you're out of order. So you Jamaicans, you hear that phrase, you're out of order. You're too out of order. So today we're talking about an out of order marriage. And in the sense of not being rude, but your marriage is not in the order that God created it to be. So anything you cherish, you spend a lot of time with it or on it, right? Just like I spent a lot of time on this game when I was younger, and my son and other kids nowadays, you have to always tell them to, stop, or else they'll play all night. I was doing some research, and the statistics that I saw, it blew my mind. In the back of your mind, you know something, but when you see the numbers, then you realize the reality of what it is. So here are some statistics. 80% of the population watch TV on a given day most of the time, 80%. And 95% is in the US. Picture that, 95%. It also says 85% of US adults own a cell phone. On average, an average person spends 5 hours and 24 minutes on a cell phone each day. On average, Americans check their phones at least 96 times per day, or once every 10 minutes. As of 2022, when it started, there are roughly 6.65 billion smartphone users across the world, 86% of the global population. That is huge. Nearly 1 in 4 married individuals turn to a friend or family member for emotional support, putting more time and effort into maintaining these relationships. So that's another statistic. It's saying nearly 1 in 4 married individuals turn to a friend or a family for emotional support, not to their spouse, but to others. So when you think about these things, it shows that God created marriage for it to be in a certain order. He created life to be in a certain order. And the relationship with Him should be number 1. But He tells us that the order that He gives us is that your marriage and your family should come next. It's the closest, every marriage created by God, it's the closest relationship with God Himself. It's the closest relationship on earth, so to speak. But a lot of times we tend to go away from that for whatever reason, different reasons. And sometimes it's subtle, we don't realize it. Here's another statistic. 25% of married women, church-going women, worship without their husbands. 70 to 80% of church participants are women. And that's sad. I'm not picking on the men. I'm just saying this, what's happening. So when you think about it, it's very disturbing. And, I have a passion for marriage and family, and that's the reason why my wife and I, we do this program. But we're trying to encourage listeners and, every married couple, even couples who are engaged to get married, or singles planning to get married, or one's divorced and want to remarry. the encouragement is that you have to cherish your marriage. Just like I cherish that game that I used to play, or whatever it is. It could be television or your friends or your cell phone or whatever it is. You spend the time. You have to spend the time with your spouse to make it quality. So an out of order marriage. But listen to this verse. A lot of times we get chaotic in our lives, and we know things get busy sometimes, so we can't really get a handle on life as far as prioritizing. But God tells us in 1 Corinthians 14 verse 40, it says, "But all things should be done decently and in order." In order. All things. Here's another verse. Verse 33 of that same chapter. "For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace." So when there's chaos, when there's disorder, there's no peace. You cannot have peace in your marriage when things are out of order. When one person is spending too much time on their phones, or one person is spending too much time away from their spouse or by themselves. So don't get me wrong, you need time by yourself, yes, because you have to spend that time with the Lord and taking care of yourself. You need time on your phone because it's a thing that is made for today's society. We use the phone, but it cannot outweigh the time you spend with your spouse, because it becomes chaotic. It becomes a disordered marriage relationship. So God says all things, not some. All things are to be done in order, marriage included. So if you want your marriage to have peace, your relationship to have love, joy, and harmony, you have to water it. You have a garden. You have to spend time watering it for the things to grow. So you can't spend that time if you're doing other things outside, overpowering what you're supposed to do in your marriage relationship, spending more time in your marriage, working on your marriage. So we have jobs to go to. We have different things that we have to do in life, yes, but we have to prioritize, and your marriage is number one. Apart from your relationship with God, your marriage is number one. If it gets out of order, then it's not going to be good. And I'm sure even myself experience it sometimes. We have to just come right back, and this is the encouragement. Don't let it continue out of order, because if you let it continue, it's just going to die. Just like a flower will die if you don't take care of it. So many verses in the Bible talking about this topic. Another verse, 1 Timothy 3, verse 5. "For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he be able to care for God's church?" Your first ministry starts at home. Your marriage is your first ministry. If your marriage is out of order, and think about it properly, if your marriage is not in order, if it's not going the way it's supposed to go, if there's no love, if there's no time spent together, if there's no harmony, and you go and do God's work on a Sunday, for example, ministry, in essence, what you're really saying is you spend the time doing that, but your home is not in order. God doesn't want that either. And it's not good for you or your spouse. So here's a question to ask yourself. Why did I get married? What is the purpose for marriage? Why did God create marriage? So a lot of times we don't realize that it's going away from us. Just like I used to play the game, and my homework is to be done, and I don't spend the time doing my homework. Then when I do the test, I fail because I didn't prepare, right? So putting things in order gives you success, gives you what you want out of it to be good. You have to put in the work in it. So, if you're out there and your marriage is not being put first, and you're putting friends first, or you're putting, time on the phone first, or TV, it's not going to work. And guys out there who are not married, this is a great word for you too. It's something that Michelle and I experienced in our marriage. There was a time years ago where we actually were spending a lot of time on watching TV. We're not spending time together. We're sitting in the couch, yes, but I'm sitting there, she's there, and we're watching TV, and we're not having quality time. And guess what was happening? Our marriage relationship itself was being buffered by watching TV, and we realized it after a while because we weren't getting along anymore. The love was fading. I wasn't showing her the love I'm supposed to show her. She wasn't showing me the respect she's supposed to show me that God says because we were putting too much time into television. So one day we had to just stop and we say, wait a second. They say you take stock of what's happening. So we took stock and we were like, wow, we are drifting. So what we had to do was we actually made a hard commitment. Turn the TV off for a year. And we decided that we have to build our marriage because we realized that God created marriage to be sacred, to be holy, to be spent with each other with quality time so we could build it. You know, God gives us this great thing of marriage, but he's not going to build it for you. He's right there to help you, but you have to be the one to build it if you want to see the fruit of a great marriage. So we had to do that. I'm not telling you guys to turn off the TV for a year, but whatever it is that works for you, because you don't want your marriage to die. There's going to be bumps. There's going to be issues that come up that's going to let you feel like you're drifting apart. But you have to be conscious and you have to be intentional to set that time, not let other things take the space of your marriage. It's very easy. It's subtle because guess who's behind it? The enemy. He doesn't like marriage. He hates marriage. He hates you if you're a child of God. Worse, if you're married and you're both children of God. So he's going to come after you, try to bring distractions, try to bring things that are going to pull you away from each other. Next thing you know, you're ending up in that D word that God says he hates. So here's your opportunity. If you're in a situation right now where your marriage feels like it's, fading, or it's not where it's supposed to be, or where you want it to be, or where God says it should be, you still have an opportunity to start building back and get that foundation. Put away so much of using that phone or watching so much TV and whatever it is that is an obstacle in your marriage relationship. Put it away for a while and start building back. There's going to be times for that. Some people, they have their phones like a part of their hand and they bring it everywhere they go, or they have friends who they put over their spouses for whatever reason. But if you're trying to do that and balance your marriage relationship, you need to make sure that you remember that your marriage relationship comes before all these things. And there's so many different things. So remember, God created marriage. Only God's design and order will give a great marriage. So remember, he's the one who tells us that we have to do things in order so that we'll have what we need: peace, love, joy, and harmony. And guys, we're almost at the end of the program. I said we're one in spirit. My wife is not beside me, but she's with me in spirit. But I'm at the end of the program, and I thank you guys for listening to Marriage in a Minute, and I thank you guys for listening every week. For those of you who do, visit our website, www.marriagevantagepoint.com. If you think about that, those three words, marriage, vantage point, you're an MVP in your marriage, both of you. All right, so thank you guys once again. We're continuing to pray for every marriage that they'll reach that mountain that God wants it to be on. And again, prioritize your marriage. God bless you guys.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate you, and we're grateful to have you as a part of the team here on Omega Radio. And listeners, we do hope that you'll tune in next week, Saturday, at the same time of 3:30 p.m. until 3:45 for Marriage in a Minute right here on Omega Radio. So thank you so much, Mr. Hyatt. We really do appreciate you, and we're grateful to have you as a part of the Omega team.
Thanks. I'm grateful to be on it too. Take care.
Yes, sir. You as well. Bye-bye.